1. First number sequence, which is Alex, and we need to show with Alex, we need to work with when Alex is displayed and when she has been shown, we need her to start counting. Does that make sense? Now, we don't have to broadcast again, because as soon as we show character 1, we know we are doing level 1, don't we? So the first thing that happens, show character 1, we are running level 1. So now we're going to go here and we are going to create a, I'm going to make a variable only for her, so she is only responsible for her data. Does this make sense? And we know we're going to need a random, because we are wanting to, the scenario stated, I want to just count or display the number sequence this number of times, a random number of times, and the user has to enter the one after that sequence. Does this make sense? So the first thing we need to do is we need to come up with a random number of times we want us to run. So we create a variable called rand, in this case, and we're going to set it to, in the case in here, I stored random, but it's very important you can, as was stated by Jared, that you can also just loop a random number of times. But I like to keep track of what my random is, because potentially for other or more complex things I might need it to help me with something. So I'm also going to create another variable for a counter to keep track of where I am, and I like to create this variable as I. Now I'm also showing you this will help you for programming later. I'm doing it this way because it's the logical sequences of other programming languages, not just of Scratch. So I'm going to start off by setting I to 0 because it's looped 0 times, or I could start it at 1. It doesn't matter. Your guys' choice. I'm gonna suggest we start at 0 because that's how it's going to be. I am then going to control. I'm going to loop until I is greater than. Now, do you guys get the idea of comparison? So if I say I is greater than my variable rand, which I haven't set the value to, so I'm going to set rand to random between 5 and 10, and our increments I. So here I is going to be 0. Do you guys get that? Is 0 less than 5? Yes, no, so forth. Do you guys follow me? So it will check. Is I less than rand? Is 0 less than 5? Yes. So it will not. So it will not. It will loop. Only when it's not. When that condition is wrong, it's false. It is no longer. I is no longer.
So does that say 50?
Sorry.
Does that say 50, not 10?
It says 10. Yeah, it's quite small. Sorry, I know it's bad with this. I actually haven't figured out a way to zoom in on this other than using a magnifier, but then it even lags on the screen, which is just annoying. And my screen resolution is already set to quite low, and this is all in the video now. I've got to pause it. Anyway, after here, so until I is equal to random, so when I is the maximum number of times it loops, it will exit. So repeat until means it will happen until this is true. So only when I is equal to rand will it actually exit. So now, in this case, we now want to do what? We want to display to the user, say I. So we're going to say 0, 1. Okay, let's for argument's sake, rand is equal to 5. So remember we did that whole trace table? Random is equal to 5. I is going to be 0. It's going to say 0 for 2 seconds. I is going to then become 1. It's going to say that for 2 seconds. I is going to become 2. It's going to say that for 2 seconds. It's going to become, do you guys get that? It's going to become, when it becomes 5, is 5 equal to 5? It would exit. Do you guys get that? And then once it exits, we want to ask the user, so we go here and we say sensing, ask user. Is it in sensing? I'm going bland. You did. Oh, yeah, sorry. So we're going to say ask the user. We're going to say enter in next number. Now, when you enter the next number and wait, the user is going to enter, and it's going to be stored into this answer variable over here. And all we need to do now is we need to determine if that's correct or not. So in this case, we go if answer is equal to. Now, if you notice our order of events, I say the number, I then change the number to what the next value should be, right? So I say it, I then change it. So I has got the next step, doesn't it? So I can just say, if answer is equal to I, then it's correct, isn't it? So I'm then going to say, looks, say, well done. I am then going to go level by 1. Oh, actually, no. Here's a tricky part, isn't it? Who can pick up the logical sequencing order issue here? If level is 1, right, you want to increment it to 2. But if the level is 2 and the user's already clicked on, wants to do level 1 again, you don't want it to now increment to level 3. And also, if he's already on level 4 and he clicks on 1 again, you don't want it to change to level 2. Am I making sense here? So, we basically want to say, if we want another condition in here, so now this is what's called a nested if statement. We have an if statement inside an if statement. We're going to say if level oh, what did I just get rid of there? You're going to say if level is equal to 1, then South Park. Anyway, then we are going to set level to 2. If level is already 2, we don't need to set it to 2. If level is 3, we don't need to set it to 2. If level is 4, we don't need to set it to 2. Only if level is 1 has the user now passed level 1 and we can now change the level to 2. So we had an additional if in there. If the user got it wrong, we don't need to do that, do we? But what do we need to do? We need to broadcast what event? We need to broadcast display menu. And same thing, if the user got it wrong, we need to say bad
You suck eggs.
you suck, comma, I like eggs. I don't know, give them eggs if you say they suck. Yeah, now on this, we set to level 2 here, but we want to broadcast always display. So you always need to remember we need to broadcast display whether they get it right or wrong. So now if I run this, and I click on level 1, it doesn't work. Oh, level 1, okay, 0, 1, 2 seconds is way too slow. 2, 3, damn it, why did I set it to 2 seconds? She better not, she hopefully didn't randomly pick 9. But which was the last number?
I don't know, so I was on 6.
It's top on 6. Okay, so if I press 7 now, and okay, my alarm looks off, 7, and I go tick, it'll say well done. It'll then take me back to the menu, and it now should display level 2. It doesn't. Dum dum dum. So now we have to trouble solve. Level is set to 2.
Is it sequencing again?
I don't think so, because we fixed that last time, but maybe. So now, level is 2. So it should broadcast. Ooh, check here. Check what I said here.
What?
Hide level 2, not show level 2. How silly is that?
So you would choose that.
There's no oh, it's under me, that's why. Show level 3 and show level 4. So that was quite a noob mistake, but guys, often programming you have those little things where you click on the wrong stuff and whatnot. Okay, so now we're going to continue to level 2. Let's just double check this is going to work. Firstly, before I run this again, I'm going to change the length of time that this lady waits to say something. I want to say 0.5 seconds. So you have to be quick. For level 1, you've got to be quick. So let's run this. I'm going to hide my level things so I don't want to see it. Click. 0. It's not fast. 1. I changed the wrong thing. I changed the well done to 0.5. Damn it. Yeah. 2 seconds. 0.5 seconds. Okay. I laugh at that we find it even slow, even though technically it must have been like 0, 1, 8, 8. Okay, so next number is 9. We go tick, well done. It will then take me through to level 2. I then now need to click level 2. We need to get that working. So we go to level 2. So when hide level 2 or show level 2 is now programmed, we then now need to work with show level 2. Now, firstly, let's take a look at the number sequence. I'm just going to open up Excel quickly. And then we're going to look at the number sequence. Because the first thing you always have to do is you have to work out the number sequence. In your guys' in your guys' exams or your cycle tests or whatever, you're going to be given a number sequence and you have to work it out. As far as I'm aware, it went 0, 2, 1, 4, 2, 8. Where did it go?
3.
Or did it go 0, 4? I think it went 0, 4.
Yeah, 0, 1, 0.
Or was it 1, 4, 2,
So
8,
start where you feel
3, 12, 4, 16? I think it was that. Yeah. So there were multiple ways in which you could have picked up this number sequence. One, you could have realized that this was one number counting up by 1. That's what you could have realized. Or 2, and this one is a number counting up by 4s. Or you could have realized it was a counter multiplied by 4, counter multiplied by 4, whatever that was, multiplied by 4. Does that make sense? In my case, I'm just going to keep track of 2 variables. In this case, 3 variables, because I want to loop the number of times that random has been generated, but I want to generate 2 variables. One time I want it to be this, next time I want it to be that. Do you guys get that? So I'm going to deal with space and memory to solve this issue. And to start off with, we can actually just duplicate what's in level 1 to work with. So I'm going to duplicate what's on here, and I'm going to put it into level 2, which is technically actually button. Am I right in the fact that we set level, yeah, we set this to be level 2. We set bold to be level
3.
Show character 2. We have 2 level 2s. No, we don't. Button, level 3, yeah. Okay, so button is level 2. So it's going to be here. Now, in this case, we're going to be doing the same starting sequence, and we're going to have to repeat in the counter over here. Now, we don't have the variable I, so we need to add the variable I. Do we have the variable rand? No, we don't have the variable rand, so we need to add the variable rand. Okay, so now this sequence is working as far as the looping and whatnot. And it's kind of what we're going to be doing, except now this would change to 2. So we're following the same sort of structure. This would change to 3. And then we're following the same structure. But now I is what we want to display. But we don't want I to be displayed, because I is just it's just keeping track of the number of loops. That's all I is. I is just the counter. We want to actually have a variable called display. So it's what we should be displaying to the user. What is the current number that should be displayed to the user? Does that make sense? So I'm going to create, is display logical, or do you want me to call it current number? Is display okay? You guys can choose whatever is logical for you. So I'm going to have a variable called display, and this is what the user is currently going to be displaying. I'm going to be creating, so now if I go back to my Excel, or my piece of paper in front of me, I'm going to have a display, and this is what the person is talking about. I'm going to have something called, I'm going to call this J, I'm going to call this K.
JK.
So J is going to be keeping track of this. So J is going to be 1. J is then going to be 2. K is then going to be 8. J is going to be... So basically J and K are keeping track of the 2 different number sequences. J is keeping track of the 1 number sequence. K is keeping track of the other number sequence. Do you guys get this? Now, in this scenario, we're going to also have... we will also be having the display and J and K keeping track of which one we are. And display will be the current value. So now, if we go back to our Scratch, over here where I say change I, this is going to change completely, so I'm deleting that. I is less than rand, correct answer will equal to the next display, which will be the current one. And we need to add, for this sprite, J and K. Let's just get it put in the right order. J, K. Then after, did I just add a list?
Yes, sir.
That's not cool. Hide. Where's my list? I want to delete it. Delete list. Yay. Okay. Okay. Now that we've done that, we've got K. We now need to actually work out this. So firstly, what does my... Remember when I told you, whenever you create variables, you should always initialize them, right? What should J start off as? If we look at the number sequence, what does J start off as? 1. So we're going to say set J to 1. Set J to?
BK.
Thank you. Set... Then I should be 0, measurable gets. This should be J, and that should be set to 1. And then now I need to set K 2, 4. Now, what is my display going to be to start off with? What should my, so I'm initializing all my variables. What should display be set off as? Okay, so it should be set as being J. Do you guys follow? Now, I'm going to just say, not I for 2 seconds, I'm going to say display, and I'm going to make this 1 second because it might be a little bit more difficult to keep the actual number sequence. So I'm saying that for 1 second. After I've said that, I now need to determine whether I'm working with K or J and which one's the next current. Does that make sense? Now, I'm going to change this slightly. And bear with me why. I'm changing this to 0.
What's that?
The reason, this is K, this is 4, 8, 12, 16. That's keeping track of those. And the reason why I'm setting it to 0 is because the first time it loops, I've said J. So the increment is going to happen before, what is it called? The increment will happen before the change of the value. Does this make sense? Okay, am I making sense? Okay, let's do a trace table. I'm going to draw a trace table on the board. I'm hoping that this thing might pick it up. If I maybe make it bigger, then it'll be on the video as well. But then it's going to be a video within a video, and it'll be like a crazy inception. Okay, the video is mostly keeping track of the bottom part of the thing, so let's just try. Okay, so another video will be here. Now we've got. Okay, we've got I, we've got J, we've got K, we've got display. Is this correct?
There's many, Mr. Bradley.
No. When you talk at I is starting at 0, J is starting at 1, K is starting at 0, display, the first time the loop occurs, remember the loop is going to occur, display is going to be J, which we set it defaultly as, and it's going to say that. The physical person, I'm going to make this the person column over here. I actually don't even know if the video is going to pick this up, but it's going to show 1. Now what's going to happen is going to go into the loop, and now we're going to have to go, we're in the loop, it's displayed that. Now something's going to have to happen every single time. Every single time we increment I becomes 1. But now we want display to be 4, don't we? Now what do we do to K each time? Each time K loops, what do we want to do? We want to add 4. Each time J is looped, what do we want to do? Add 1. So in this case, in this iteration, the number is odd, and because it is odd, we want to increment by 4. Does that make sense? Now, K is 0, because the first loop is going to increment it by 4, display is going to be set to K, and then the person is going to say 4, because it's an odd number. The next time it loops, I is going to become 2. This is now even, so we want J to add 1, which is going to make it, which will make it 2. It's not odd, so it's not going to do that. So then display is going to become 2. The person is going to say 2. Iteration 3. 3 is odd. It's going to add 4 onto here. It'll become 8. That won't happen. 8. So as we're looping around, now let's go back to the, hopefully this is displayable on the video, but I think it's not quite dark enough, it's too much light around here, maybe we should turn the lights off next time. Anyway, what we've got here, now my head's, okay, what we've got here is, oh thank you, it might help. Now, what we have here on this side is we have a, I've lost my train of thought now. We've got K set to 0. So now if it's odd, how would, firstly, now we want to determine, first we are going to increment, we're going to increment our I, because we've looped, right? So we're going to change I by 1 after we've displayed, because we have looped, so we're incrementing I by 1. The next thing we're going to determine, how would you guys determine whether it's even or odd, the number of increments, because you're wanting to alternate from one to the other, from the one to the other, so it's even, odd, even, odd. You'd use that mod to determine the random number was left after this. So we go data or events, sorry, control, I'll get there eventually. If else. So now if mod, so if I mod 2, now remember this deals with remainder, so if I say if if I mod 2 is equal to 0, it means it's even, right? Now if it's even, according to that there, if it's even, which one do we want to work with? Which one, J or K? J, because so if it's even, we want to work with J, so in which case we're going to go data, change J by 1, set display to J. Do you guys follow? Now, the way I have solved it is probably much more complicated than the way any of you might have successfully solved it. And that's not the point. I'm trying to show you a very logical sequencing for more other difficult challenges that would work for pretty much anything. The idea that you go through step by step, look at the channels, how you can alternate. So I'm trying to show you there are simpler ways of achieving this result, but this result is the way you would achieve a lot of other things as well. So I'm going to change, if it's not even, it's odd, and then in which case K must be changed by how many? 4. And then in which case I'm going to set my display to, what will I set my display to? And in this case now, enter what number happens there. Its answer is equal to display well done for 2 seconds, and if level is equal to 2, go to level 3. It's programmed. That's level 2 done. It is done in quite a complex way, but it is done. Now, let's test it. Green flag should start from the beginning, and let's test this out. So if I click on level 1, 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Okay, let's wait, guys. It should be 10. Sadly, we now have to go past level 1 to get to level 2. Level 2. Okay, yay! Okay, this should work. We'll have to do the test. Obviously, there's something silly I've done. I'll do the test and run it now. Okay, so I just had here hide character instead of show character. So if I run that again, it will be able to get that through. In this case, it's 6. Tick. And it should work now. Well done. Level 2. 1, 4, 2, 8, 3, 12, 4, 16. So the number next should be 5. So tick. Well done. Okay, so it's working. Goodbye. And we'll do level 3 and level 4 tomorrow.